Hey traders, this is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group, and this is a quick video on understanding the MarketWebs platform indicator. So let's start with a couple basic things regarding charting, and then we'll get into what the MarketWebs are. But first of all, traders will look at a chart, and what they normally have on their charts is either a bar chart or candlestick chart that shows price action, right? That will basically show the open close range of a stock for that given day. And if this is a daily chart, so we're looking at each bar is one particular day. All right, so that is on the what's known as the upper study of the chart, right? That's what where most eyes gravitate towards. And then of course on the lower study of a chart, most traders have volume, right, which will show volume for the day. What the MarketWebs does is combine those into one. So one of the things that you can kind of see in the background of the chart is what's known as market profile, right? This is where volume is occurring at price. So why is this relevant and why is this important? Well, because if you draw a range around there and you form some statistics around that volume at price, what you'll conclude many times is that there is a statistical significance based on, around that data point. And what we're looking for here is, when I say statistical importance, what we're looking at is support and resistance. So to define what this is, so when we're on a daily chart, first of all, this particular value area, which I will refer to a lot on Twitter, which will be the November value area, right? So when price is in that, it's referred to as being in a range and not necessarily choppy, but it is not breaking out. Right now, what we're seeing in this particular night is we saw a little bit of consolidation at the top of value, and now we are breaking out of the range. To me, that's very important, right? Once we start to break out of a given area, things can begin to really trend. So above value, right, which is a top of value would be here. Once we get above value, we begin to trend. Once we get below value, we also begin to trend to the downside. So breakdowns and breakups, right? And we can look at this chart in the S&P and kind of look back at the last few months. Whoops, not so much like that. But if we look at this daily chart, we could see that how many times have we either started above value and basically have came in and checked back to the top of value, right, as this did, right? We broke through, checked back, and we began to trend for the month. This was back in May where we came in and we kind of tested the top of value. So that would be a place, in my opinion, to take a target. As we dip back in, now we're range bound again. And once we got out of value, you could see that there was a bit of consolidation, and then we started to really trend. And you could see, price basically above value really starts to trend from there. Then, you can kind of use this market profile indicator, again, called the MarketWebs, and I'm going to turn this market profile off right now because really what we want to focus on is the important support and resistance levels. So you could do that, of course. If you like to use that market profile, you have the ability in the MarketWebs to turn it on and turn it off. All right, so here's a situation where you can use the daily chart. It will plot out values for the month. If we want to go a little bit further, and if you want to look at the weekly chart, you could see that you'll get a value area for the year, right? So we've been basically trending up, trending higher since we got above this. You could see the consolidation, which is quite normal in my opinion, above value that we did in May, June, and since then we've been trending. And we've been trending above value. Now, if you really want to look at the super short time frame, which I do, right? I do trade a little bit on smaller time frames. What you'll see is also you'll be able to kind of tell yourself what the trend is doing. Notice that back here, right, we began to kind of lose the trend, right? We broke value and started to go underneath That was followed by the next week, right? So the daily, as I mentioned, is for you have data points for the whole month. On the 1 hour chart, you have data points for the week. So once we broke below value, we kind of kept going until you could see this last VPOC was taken out. We managed to stay in value and we reversed the trend, right? So I mentioned this term version point of control. So let's define first of all what the point of control is, right? The point of control in any period, and let's turn this back on just for a quick second. All right, so if we show the profile once again, and again can be seen on multiple time frames, right? You could see that the volume profile is this shaded in here. Now again, this isn't going to give you much of anything to really trade off of. What is really important is to kind of draw a range around that. Again, that is the market value profile. And what you could kind of see here again is, why this came into play. One of the reasons why we reversed here is because we hit this point of control, right, which is where the majority of the volume is in a given period. So in this period, believe it or not, the majority of the volume, when you average it, was here. Notice that the price did not go through this value area at all. That left behind a virgin point of control, right? A point of control that was never touched. So that could come into play. Sometimes you could see a complete reversal, like we did off of here. Not always. Sometimes we do see, price can go through it and then kind of retest a little bit back. It doesn't mean that every time that a version point of control is touched that it's going to reverse. But you could see that there's a number of cases where basically that's as far as price went. All right, so that really you can kind of define that where price could be headed to. They often act as magnets. Again, not 100% of the time, but price can actually go ahead and seek them out. All right, so that's a little bit about that. And again, you'll hear me talk about those version point of controls quite a bit because price will go ahead and gravitate towards an area where a lot of buyers and sellers previously met up. All right, so let's get back to the daily chart. We'll kind of show you a couple more things here. The Qs, for example, we can kind of look at the Qs now. You can see that we are now trading back above value. You could see how neat this Qs chart is on the daily, just talking about what I was referring to with the S&P, but look at how many times we either, we started the month, for example, June, we started the month above value. You came in and perfectly tested that top of value and we bounced. All of July above value. We started the month again in August above value, came in and tested the top of support, which was the top of value. And then we kind of ran into trouble, right? We lost this uptrend for the month of September once we broke into value, right? So if you're a trader, right, and you're looking to kind of position on these top of values, a warning sign would be once we go ahead and break into value. Same thing here for October, right? We did spend a good portion of the month above value and then kind of broke back in, right? So now we are uptrending again, right, as the chart indicates on the top left. All right, so that's a lot so far, and I wanted to talk about, this is the indices, right? So we've defined multiple definitions here. We have this also broken out. All right, so a study that weights price, volume, and time graphically on a chart, identifying key support resistance zones and translates them into decision support system with the goal of simplifying the trading system. We'll get to that in a minute. Here's your definitions. So the advantages, right? So this will be kind of the last section, and then I'll talk about two stocks, right? It really helps to determine a range for security and a breakout. Right? It can also kind of limit, one of the things that traders do sometimes is we put on trades and a name will basically give you a false signal, right? One of the things, a lot of times I will not initiate a trade unless it's breaking out of value. So if it's close, right, and it's right there, I will wait for that confirmation. This really helps keep emotion out of trading, right? That's one of the biases in trading, right? Everybody has ideas. Ideas are great. Instincts are great. However, you need to formulate a plan, right? And by doing so, with a technical system like this, you're really taking emotion out of trading. So you can have an idea, but you know where the idea is going to be wrong, right? Planning stops and targets. So let's talk about a couple names, right? Amazon, first one that we'll talk about, right? Amazon right now is flirting with breaking out of this month's value area. So 3297, which is right here, would be a level to trade against. And that's as simple as it gets, right? And we could talk about, I haven't really talked about the extensions away from the value areas. This is R1, so resistance 1, resistance 2. These are more known as speed bumps, right? I would refer to, you could refer to the VPOCs as potential roadblocks, right? You could see reversals off of those. But the Venoms, so Venom R1, R2, same thing with S1 and S2, they can be referred to as more speed bumps. You might see a little bit of consolidation around there, right? So if we jump to the 1 hour on Amazon, you're going to see that we actually had a pretty decent version point of control takeout about a week ago. This was on earnings day. So earnings day, notice that we never got a full bar on earnings, on that earnings day, right? So it showed that there was, overhead sellers. There was a little bit of a barrier there. I'm just going to go ahead and turn this off again, just so that we can see this a little bit more clearly. So show profile, no. There's also a lot of customization on here that you can do with the labels, the colors. I like the version point of controls red. But so we had this takeout here. Now notice price did go lower. So I wouldn't particularly add a trade right into there because there is a chance that we could continue to go lower. But once we retook this level, we were kind of off to the races. Notice there's another version point of control up here. That would be a place to take a target to the upside if you were long, just like this one, right? Notice price went all the way up to this particular version point of control and took that out. All right. And what I would be watching for this week, notice tonight is Sunday night, but Monday we'll have a new value area for the week. And those are the levels to watch. I also saw this was very interesting, the week of earnings for Facebook. Facebook had a tough time. This was their earnings week. This was their earnings date. Take a look at what Facebook did on earnings. It just, price was, perhaps there's too many overhead sellers. Also notice that version point of control being taken out. It's another example of how they work. You could see them in the past too. Version point of control taken out, bounce. Now we did end up going lower. Took out another one, bounce. Now there just wasn't another one to take out here. Once we recoup this, kind of went, have made a recovery since then. All right, so that's Apple. Sorry, that's Facebook. I'm jumping to Apple next. Similar concept here, version point of control taken out to the downside, right? Where a lot of buyers and sellers have previously met up, but have not returned since. The market remembers these things, right? Notice price did not go through this value area at all. All right, so now what would I target, right? So I think Apple's, let's go back to the daily chart for a minute here in Apple. How would I play Apple going forward? Well, I am kind of bullish Apple long term. However, let's formulate an idea based on the technicals. All right, so 179.79 is the top of value for November. I would like to see a break above there, right? That's where I would establish a long position. Where would I take a target? Well, we've got an R1 Venom at 130.29. Is there anything closer to that on a shorter time frame if I wanted to trade off of that? Right? If we go ahead and look, you're going to see that maybe there isn't one. Nope, we do not have one. Price went through here, but notice this 129.21 might be a place that Apple gets to. Again, provided that we have to get above. Notice how the valuers are lining up on multiple time frames too. 120 also kind of comes up here. That would be the level to watch on the 1 hour as well. So you've got a couple different Venom extensions but really the 129 VPOC would be pretty decent. And if we look at the weekly chart too, so again, this is kind of like how I like to go through some things and kind of look for, some places. Now, if we by chance don't do this in this year, that trade may also work for 2021, right? Provided that Apple opens up above value for the year, which is going to be around 116. Now, this is still developing value area. This value area, again, is for the year, and we're not done with 2020. Okay, and then last one to look at is CGC. Something kind of interesting has happened with CGC. We are now into the value area for the year of 2020, right? We basically CGC spent almost the whole year below value. And we could see if now, so now we have a level to trade against, 2120, right? This name's going to report earnings, so that might give us a little bit of a guide as well. Now, of course, this name is going to have a lot of overhead resistance. 2615, right? If this name continues to trend, right, you've got multiple areas that you can kind of target, 2632. Right, those are some areas to kind of map out your trade. All right, guys, so that is that's it, the video. But that's the advantages, and again, this really helps me in my trading. I think it gives you that plan, and it takes the emotion out of trading. So, guys, thanks for watching the video and a little bit of understanding about how I use this every day. Again, I use the 1 hour charts, the daily and the weekly, depending on my time frame of how I want to trade. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.